Welcome, welcome to this session of energy conservation and management. Myself, Anirban Sarkar, Assistant Professor, Mechanical Engineering Department of JS College of Engineering, Kalyani, Nadia. Welcoming all of you to this session of today's session's lecture. Today we are going to discuss waste heat recovery technologies. Last sessions also we have discussed waste heat recovery technologies. Today we will discuss some other kind of technologies that is used in the industrial process. First of all, a very energy efficient device which is very useful for the waste heat recovery case, that is called economizer. The name indicates that is it gives us that is economy. That means the economy in case of fuel savings. Economizer is installed in various industrial processes where feed waters need to be heated. In case of power plant, in case of process industries, everywhere the economizers are used, which slightly the design somehow changes from, it varies from industry to industry. But in most of the cases, economizers is just like an heat exchangers, which is used to economize the fuel, and it is used and it is placed in the path of the flue gas where it absorbs the latent heat, or by convection or conduction method, it absorbs the latent heat, it absorbs the energy of the flue gas and raise the temperature of the feed water. Now, in this figure, it is shown that a economizer device is shown where water inlet is coming through from the upper part, and the water is at an zigzagly, it is moving from tubes that is placed, and ultimately the water is leaving. So ultimately it is made zigzag way to increase the surface area of the heat transfer, and the flue gas is moving with an baffles like this. It is also moving from one part to another part while it will remain some time inside this device. So in case of boiler system, economizer can be proved to be utilized the flue gas heat for preheating the boiler feed water. So mainly it is used to heat the boiler feed water. On the other hand, an air preheater waste heat is used to heat combustion air. So as we know that preheated air is very much useful in case of combustion. It will reduce the moisture content in the air. So in earlier discussions, we have discussed many types of air preheaters, and in this session today we will discuss types of economizer. In both the cases, there is a corresponding reduction in the fuel requirement of the boiler. The boiler, in a boiler where the fuel is burning, that is when it is leaving the boiler, that is it is as high as temperature of 1200 degrees centigrade. So at that temperature, if we leave that flue gas by through the chimney, so it will be the ultimate loss of the energy. So in the path of the flue gas, this economizer, air preheater, and some other auxiliaries are placed. And it is estimated that in economizer, for every 22 degree centigrade reduction in flue gas temperature by passing through an economizer or a preheater, there is a 1% savings of fuel in the boiler. So it is estimated that every 22 degrees centigrade, if we reduce the flue gas temperature by 22 degrees centigrade via this economizer or preheater path, so we can save 1% fuel that is burning in the boiler. On the other hand, every 6-degree raise in feed water temperature through an economizer or 20 degrees centigrade rise combustion air temperature through air preheater, there is 1% of fuel saving in the boiler. So why the economizer and air preheater? These are all the most important things. So it use as an energy saver, and as well as it will reduce the pollution by saving the fuel. Next page. Next, the figure shows it is a shell and tube type heat exchanger which is extensively used in the industries. When the media containing waste heat is a liquid or a vapor which hits another liquid, then the shell and tube heat exchanger must be used, since both paths must be sealed to contain the pressure of the respective fluids. The shell contains the tube bundles and usually internal baffles to direct the fluids in the shell over the tubes in multiple passes. So in shell and tube heat exchanger, the waste heat is liquid. The waste heat is a liquid we can use, or it may be the vapor, as in case of condenser. The inside the feed water heater we can use. So both liquid or vapor we can use as an exhaust energy or exhaust heat, maybe in terms of liquid or maybe a vapor. And in case of air preheater, we have seen that it is directly the flue gas. And in shell and tube heat exchangers, the energy that through which that other kind of fluid it is heated, that is here liquid or vapor. And it has multiple bundles of tubes through which the fluid is moving in a zigzag way, so as to increase the heat transfer area and so as the temperature raises of the feed water. The shell is inherently weaker than the tubes, so that higher pressure fluid is circulated in the tube while the lower pressure fluid flows through the shell. So high pressure fluid, that is feed water generally, that is circulated through the tubes, and the lower pressure fluid which carries more energy and from where the heat is transferred to in the tubes or inside the fluid, inside the fluid, that is generally lower pressure. So in case of this type of heat exchangers, the pressure inside the tubes, which type of fluid is flowing, that is higher pressure, and the more energy contains, that is the wasted energy that we need to be recovered, that type of fluid, that is in terms of liquids or in terms of vapor, that is at lower pressure, that is flowing over this heat exchanger. When a vapor contains the waste heat, it usually condenses, giving up its latent heat to the liquid being heated. In these applications, the vapor is almost invariably contains within the shell. So while passing through the vapor, which contains waste heat, it usually condenses in the shell and in this type of heat exchanger. Also, this type of heat exchanger is termed as condenser, where the liquid is being condensed. If the reverse is attained, the condensation of vapor within small diameter parallel tubes causes flow instabilities. So instead of flowing the high temperature vapor inside the tubes, so that will restrict the flow of liquid due to the condensation process. Tubes and shell heat exchangers are available in a wide range of standard size with many combinations of materials for the tubes and shell. Typical applications of shell and tube heat exchangers includes heating liquids with the heat contained by condensate from refrigeration and air conditioning system. Condensate from process steam, coolant from furnace door, grates and pipe supports, coolants from engines, air compressor, bearings and lubrications, and also condensate from distillation processes. So these are the typical applications of the shell and tube type heat exchanger, which includes, that is, in refrigeration and air conditioning system it is used, condensate in the process steam, that is in power plant, coolant from furnace doors, grates and pipe supports, and coolant from engines, air compressor, bearing and lubrication. We are moving to the next slide. That is, this is the figure of an plate heat exchanger. So sometimes the cost of heat exchanger surface is the major cost factor when temperature differences are not larger. One way of meeting this problem is plate type heat exchanger. So in case of shell and tube heat exchanger, the tubes are very costly. So to avoid the cost and when the temperature difference is not so high, so this type of plate heat exchangers are used. In plate heat exchanger, it consists of a series of separate parallel plates forming a thin flow pass. Each plate is separated from the next by the gasket, as shown in figure, and the hot stream passes in parallel through alternative plates, while the liquid to be heated passes in parallel between the hot plates. So here, if hot fluid is passing through the one by in gaps in through the plates, while the liquid to be heated, that is also passing through the next two heated between the heated fluid gaps. To improve the heat transfer, the plates are corrugated. That means the plates have some surface roughness to increase the heat transfer. Hot liquid passing through a bottom part in the head is permitted to pass upward between every second plate, while cold liquid at the top of the head is permitted to pass downward between the hot plates. When the direction of hot and cold fluids are opposite, the arrangement is described as counter current. So that means in this case, in this plate type heat exchanger, the fluid can be passed, that is hot and cold fluid can be passed in parallel or in the counter way. Typical industrial applications are pasteurization section in the milk packaging plant and evaporation plant in food industry. So as this food industry and the pasteurization section of the milk packaging plant have relatively uh, relatively small temperature differences are there. So in this case of this industry, this type of heat exchangers are mostly useful. Run around coil exchanger. It is quite similar in principle that the heat pipe exchangers. So is another type of device, that is coil exchanger. It is quite similar principle to the heat pipe exchangers. The heat from hot fluid is transferred to the cold fluid via an intermediate fluid known as heat transfer fluid. One coil of this closed loop is installed in the hot stream while the other is in the cold stream. Circulating of this fluid is maintained by means of a circulating pump. It is more useful when the hot and cold fluids are located far away from each other and are not easily accessible. Typical industrial applications are heat recovery from ventilation, air conditioning, and low temperature heat recovery. Next slide, we are moving. Waste heat boiler. Now, it has tremendous applications in industry. Waste heat boilers. That is from the flue gas that is generally we rejected, it can absorb the heat very effectively. Otherwise, sometimes some auxiliary heatings are also there. So what is waste heat boiler? Waste heat boilers are ordinary water tube boilers in which hot exhaust gases from gas turbine, incinerator, etc. That is where the high temperature fluid is flowing. In this path, these waste heat boilers are placed. So it is passed over a number of parallel tubes containing water shown in this figure. The bent tubes, that is the heat exposed zone, the bending is made by in the tubes so as to increase the heat transfer area of the tubes so as it can take maximum energy from the waste heat. The water is vaporized in the tubes and collected in a steam drum from which it is drawn off use as heating or processing steam. Next, because the exhaust gas are usually in medium temperature range, and in order to conserve space, a more compact boiler can be produced if water tubes are finned in order to increase the effective heat transfer area on the gas side. So in the path of the flue gas, some fins are provided, or in the water tubes in here, the fins are provided so as to increase the effective heat transfer area of the gas side. The earlier figure shows that is set of a tubes over which the hot gases makes double pass, and steam drum which collects the steam generated above the water surface. The pressure at which the steam is generated and the rate of steam production depends on the temperature of waste heat. The pressure of a pure vapor in the presence of its liquid is a function of temperature of the liquid from which it is evaporated. The steam table tabulates this relationship between the saturation process and temperature. If the waste heat in the exhaust gas is insufficient for generating the required amount of process steam, auxiliary burners which burns fuel in the waste heat boiler or an afterburner in the exhaust gas flues are added. Waste heat boilers are built in capacities from 25 meter cube almost to 30,000 meter cube per minute of exhaust gas. Typical applications of the waste heat boilers are to recover energy from the exhaust gas of turbine, reciprocating engine, incinerators, and furnaces. So, waste heat boiler is typical application. These are the areas, and it is extensively used in the industrial process. Now, load preheating. It refers any effort to use waste heat leaving a system to preheat the load entering into the system. Generally, in case of solids material, where the in steel industry, etc., where the ingot, etc., are manufactured, it has tremendous heat. So, if we utilize that heated ingot or etc. part to some extent, that energy, we need to preheat some air or etc. So in that case, we can save some amount of fuel. The most common example is boiler feed water preheating, where an economizer transfers heat from hot combustion exhaust gases to the water entering the boiler. Other applications utilize direct heat transfer between combustion exhaust gases and solid materials entering the furnace. So that means is the direct utilization. In case of direct utilization, it may be the solid material while it is entering the furnace, it absorbs the heat from the other part that has already heated, and that heat energy we cannot utilize further. For example, it is given that aluminum steel casting industry stack melters can replace reverberatory furnace to reduce energy consumptions with stack melters, ingots, and scraps. That means the stack melters, reverberatory furnace energy consumption we can reduce with the stack melters, and while we introducing ingots and scraps through this furnace, so some amount of heat with the stack melters that already has that can take, and preheat by exhaust gases leaving the furnace. So the exhaust gas leaving the furnace, in case of that stack melters or ingot scraps, we can use. Now this figure shows a stack melters. It is used in particular industrial figure at a die casting facility that has successfully reduced energy consumption to about 47% below conventional furnace. Next. So in case of boiler feed water preheating is a standard practice. Load preheating of material prior to melting in directified system is not as widely used. This is due to a variety of factors, including difficulties in controlling products quality, issue associated with environmental emissions, and increased complexity and cost of building advanced furnace loading or heating recovery system. Nevertheless, heat recovery via load preheating has received increased attention over last few years. The available technologies and barriers for different load preheating furnace will vary substantially depending on the type of furnace and load in question. These considerations are discussed later more details way. Now, there are another type of preheating device that is called passive air preheater. So as the figure it shows, it is a device called passive air preheater. So in case of passive air preheaters are gas to gas heat recovery device. So typically where a waste gases are there which contains high energy and a gas that need to be heated for the process purpose that can be heated by these passive air preheaters. So passive air preheaters are gas to gas heat recovery device for low to medium temperature applications where cross contamination between gas stream must be prevented. So that means the contamination between the heated air and the incoming processed air must not contaminate. So they need to be separated. Application here includes ovens, steam boiler, gas turbine exhaust, secondary recovery from furnace, and recovery from conditioned air. Passive air preheater can be of two types. That is, one is plate type and heat pipe. The plate type exchanger consists of multiple parallel plates as shown in figure that creates separate channel for hot and cold gas stream. Hot and cold flows alternate between the plates and allow significant areas for heat transfer. These systems are less susceptible to contaminants compared to the heat wheels, where they are often bulkier, costlier, and more susceptible to fouling problems. So earlier we have discussed that is heat wheels. The major disadvantages of his heat wheels is that is hot from the hot gases. Some contaminants may be go through in the processed air. So in case of passive air preheater, that can be eliminated. So now the heat pipes heat exchanger as shown in this figure consist of several pipes with sealed end. Each pipe contains a capillary wick structure that facilitates movement of working fluid between the hot and cold ends of the pipe. As shown in this figure below, hot gases pass over one end of the pipe, causing the working fluid inside the pipe to evaporate. Pressure gradients along the pipe causes the hot vapor to move to the other end of the pipe where the vapor condenses and transfer heat to the cold gas. The condensate then cycles back to the hot side of the pipe via capillary action. So it has typical industrial uses in HVAC system, in boiler, in refrigeration system, so etc. We have discussed. Eventually, the energy has such low intensity, that is, resides in a medium at such low temperature that it has no longer available at all to perform a useful function. It has been taken as a general rule of thumb in industrial operations that fluids with temperature less than 120 degrees centigrade or better 150 degrees centigrade to provide a small margin as limit of waste heat recovery because of risk of condensation of corrosive liquids. So it is practically difficult to recover the heat at low temperature range because of, that is, condensation of the corrosive liquids that has in the waste heat. However, as fuel cost continues to rise, even such waste heat can be useful economically for space heating and other low temperature applications. It is possible to reverse the direction of spontaneous energy flow by the use of a thermodynamic system known as heat pump. The majority of the heat pump work on the principle of vapor compression cycle. In this cycle, the circulating substance is physically separated from the source and users stream and is reused in a cyclic fashion, therefore called a closed cycle. In the heat pumps, the following processes takes place. In a evaporator, the heat is extracted from the heat source to boil the circulating substances, and number two, the circulating substance is compressed by the compressor, raising its pressure and temperature. The low temperature vapor is compressed by a compressor which requires external work. The work done on the vapor raises the pressure and temperature to a level where its energy became available for uses. And number three, the heat is delivered to the condenser. Number four, the pressure of the circulating substance is reduced back to evaporator condition in the throttling valve, where the cycle repeats. The heat pump was developed as a space heating system where low temperature energy from the ambient air, water, or earth is raised to heat the system temperature by doing compression work with an electric motor driven compressor. The heat pumps have the ability to upgrade heat to a value more than twice that of energy consumed by the device. The potential for application of heat pump is growing. A number of industries have been benefited by recovering low-grade waste heat by upgrading it and using it in the main process. Heat pump applications are most promising when both the heating and cooling capabilities can be used in combinations. One such example of this is a plastic factory where chilled water from a heat is used to cool injection molding machine, while the heat output from the heat pump is used to provide factory or office heating. One example of heat pump installation include product drying, maintaining dry atmosphere for stoppage, and drying compressed air. So we have discussed so many technologies in this session. We will conclude this session. Thanking for joining this session.